Hello, welcome back to another episode of Adobe Live. I'm your host today, Sarah Stewart, and we've got
Megan Sornson.
Yes, and this week has been amazing. We're currently in New York City. We've done a beautiful week with inclusive design, and so a lot of the topics that we've covered have been really meaningful, and I think that you should definitely check out all the streams if you haven't this week. On Tuesday, we had some really great interviews, and so I think those are the particular ones you should go back and watch. It's been a really different week for Adobe Live, and I think that it's been really fun to be a part of it. And so today we've done the XD Daily Creative Challenge this morning, and then we had Kevin Lee with Janny, and they had a zombie baby debacle right before the stream. We've got Megan, and later today we got Amelia and Sharon, and they're working on a really meaningful app for women in the workplace. So I hope you've been sticking around. It's been a really fun week. And just by participating today, you have the chance to win a beautiful hardcover notebook from moo.com. Moo is my favorite company for my business cards. They make some really beautiful products, have great customer service. And so let us know what you'd use that notebook for. We had previous winners want to use it for doodling, sketching, wireframing. What would you use it for? We like to-do lists, and we like crossing off the to-do lists. So yeah, I think that's wonderful that Moo is helping support us and the design community. So just let us know where you're tuning in from or say hello, and we'll be announcing that winner in just a bit. Now to get into the show, why don't we talk a little bit about what we did day 1 and day 2. This is day 3, the last day with Megan, and we've covered a lot of stuff. So let's do a quick recap of what we've covered.
Yeah, let me share this presentation we had started. So, yeah, we talked a bit about background on myself, about being from Kansas, working for several, I don't think I talked about this formally, but I had gone to school and we did a project where we had to read an article, and they talked about the responsibility that we have in design, and I think that's where this started off for me as inclusive design started for me as being a priority. And we read an article about a marketing campaign with Levi's where they had used a younger aged model that year in their campaigns, and they saw an equivalent rate of rape victims. The age was correlated based on the age of models that they had in that particular advertisement. And so they were talking about the responsibility that we have in design and the perception that we create around the campaigns that we make. So it was a really good class for me at Fort Hays State University, where I quickly turned and tried to see what would pairing my passions with what I was working on, and how do those two things pair together, and how can I take that design and responsibly use the skills that I have. So I switched to a company called 50 and 50 that was designing for nonprofits and social good for-profits, and had done a website called BioLite Camp Stove, and we saw their sales actually decrease after we launched the site because we hadn't done the proper research. And so to me, that was almost the equivalent of this article that I had read, where I hadn't put enough intention into what I was doing, that I actually saw those sales decrease, which is when I got into UX. So I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was valuable and thoughtful and insightful into what I was creating. You can see Claude's head back behind me.
Oh, nice. Claude, who's in stream sometimes, is in this picture.
Which is what has led me to Kountable, which has sort of been the culmination of all of these things that I have thought or had in previous jobs, where I've been able to take the skills that I learned at the agency, the UX skills that I've learned, and put them into practice in this company that I really believe is not just trying to give necessarily without any required return, but really creating systemic change by building up a class of people. And so we work with entrepreneurs in emerging markets, and what we do is we help, to come back to the slide, with what we call three-party trade deals. So this entrepreneur will be, in this particular case study, was providing incubators to the Rwandan Ministry of Health. So there were 20 different hospitals that they were providing these incubators to, and what we did was, instead of just getting a loan for this entrepreneur to purchase those goods, we purchased the goods on his behalf and helped him with the logistics to get those things from that supplier to the end customer. And together we were able to help Fabrice get those goods to those hospitals, and they saw a decrease in infant mortality by like 40%. which is pretty significant. So we've been able to help with a lot of projects that at the place that Kountable is now is a lot of social good based on the markets that we're working within. So what we've been doing together the last couple of days is working on an application where these entrepreneurs could potentially purchase these goods right within our application, or at least submit an invoice for those goods right within the application. So we talked about some of the constraints, the geographical and user constraints that we have in this application. We talked about what research we might do had this been a real project and we had the time to do some of those things. We did a comparative analysis looking at some other store experiences from Amazon to Nike to Target. And then also just somebody who's in a similar industry of goods, being hospital goods. Then once we kind of had our bearings of what research we had done, from comparative analyses that we had done, we went into ideating, doing sketches with user stories. So saying, as a user, I want blank for what reason, so that we could say, here are all of the use cases that we need to cover as we're working on these designs in each of these various screens. So taking note of where we need to have filters, where do we need to have, being able to favorite something, or how do users go through this flow.
Yeah, I think this is a great point to kind of recap that Megan's had a really interesting career in design. She saw the root of the problem in the career decisions she was working on, and so she decided to go into UX. I think everyone's path to UX is unique, and it's really cool to hear people's stories. And I feel like a lot of listeners or chatters here today are probably looking to get into UX, are in UX. Maybe you can share your story as to why you did, or if you're looking to get into the industry, this is a great opportunity to ask Megan your questions about why or how she made the transition. And also today you have the opportunity to submit your portfolio for Megan to review. I feel like she'd be a great person to give you feedback if you're looking to get into this space. And so please check out the tab for portfolio review and submit your portfolios if you're interested. Otherwise, I'd like to just hear about what you do in design, why you're here today, and it's good, and I'm happy to see you here today. We got Ash, Lindsay, Voodoo Val, Eric, welcome back. I really enjoy the community here, and I think that this is a good reason to participate, is to feel like you're part of the community and to feel like we can help you by giving you feedback. Hi, Joran. Hi, Susanna. Susanna says that you're making you're impressive, and you're actually pursuing your passions and making a tremendous difference with what you're doing, and I can't help but agree. Thank you. We also did a great job recapping a lot of XD's new features yesterday in day 2 of the stream. So if you have a chance, please go back and check that out. We checked out the new responsive resize tool. There's spell check now in XD, which would help me out a lot. And then there's now time transitions as well. So when you want to have an animation pop up for a period of time, we're able to do that. And Megan has even incorporated that into her prototype. So yeah,
we'll do some more today, I think.
Yeah. So let's jump back into these designs that we put together.
Yeah, so let's recap what we've built so far. So we have our main page where we can select, in this case, our users doing medical supplies, and then we can filter how we're beginning to search for these products. So right now we've clicked on specialty, but potentially we would click, how do we want to search? Do we want to search by medical rooms, by brands? What do we want to allow the user to pick what's easiest for them to search by, given they probably know what they're looking for? So the idea is that as we would scroll, that we would move a lot of that content up so that we have all of this area that a user can scroll and see things, versus formerly, if we had left it like this, they can only see a couple of categories at a time. So if you've paid attention to the behavior on, even I believe Facebook does the same thing, where once you scroll, all of the content moves up and is sort of in a truncated space. But if you were to scroll back down, you would get this information again. So a user could always switch back and forth between how they're filtering this information. Then if a user were to click on pediatrics, this content would open up. And we would see, again, these additional filters that we can search this information by. So once we've clicked into pediatrics, it's a pretty broad category. So we want to give them, again, smaller categories that they can pick into to really find a shortened list of what they're looking for. So we're going to click on infant incubators, and now we have all of the products that are listed under this category. If we were to look in the filters, we could see that there's potentially the ability to have incubator accessories. We might want the actual incubators versus the monitor. So there's still a broad number of products within this particular filter. But we can see all of these products listed. And if we were to click into one of these products, we now see the details of that product. So a user may, I don't know how you guys shop, but sometimes if I'm looking for something and I think, oh, this is a really great product, I might want to see what other things does this particular maker make or brand make. So we want to make that clickable. Obviously the title of what we're looking at, the price, what's the shipping based on potentially where it's going to. So if this user had formerly put in that they were in Kigali, Rwanda, then we may be able to automatically show that information based on previous content that they had entered. We obviously want to allow them to choose multiple units and add this to their invoice with information about delivery, product details. We worked yesterday on making this openable, customer reviews, and then other things that customers had viewed related to this particular product.
Darnay has a question about when you do user experience UX for mobile apps like this one, are you also the one that does the desktop versions for websites as well?
So not always. I think there's a lot of companies, if you're big enough, you would potentially have different designers on different products. But right now, because our team is really small, I am doing that.
Design team of one, and
yeah.
You've just hired some more?
Yep, so we're a growing company. So with that, every feature takes a lot of time to make because I'm both designing for a native application, in this case Android, but if we had also iOS, I would need to design and make sure that I'm accommodating for that as well. For instance, if you look at this particular design, Android has these buttons on the bottom for navigation. iOS does not, so you may need to think about, have I allotted for the use case of getting somebody back to the last screen, because they don't naturally have that ability in the native operating system. So there are some changes that have to be made there. And then if you're doing on top of that web, you're having to think about, is this responsive? So designing for desktop and how that responds to which is what makes this feature with Adobe so wonderful.
Responsive resize,
yeah.
Adobe Cadabra.
Adobe Cadabra.
Yeah, we have a wonderful story from Daniel, who mentioned he was trying to become a print designer or junior art director, but he became sick, and he's healthy now, but no one has hired him for design jobs. So instead he decided to learn to code and train himself in web design. I think that's super rad.
Yeah.
It's always great to learn a new skill. It's going to apply to design if you want to continue to do that as well. And I also encourage you, if you have a portfolio site, to submit it today to let us give you some feedback on it and maybe push you in that direction if that's something you still want to pursue.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here today, Danielle. I think that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing your story.
I'm glad glad you're better.
Yeah.
So moving on with our process, we add it to a cart, and we can see we used the timed animation. That's a new feature with Adobe, and we added it add it to our invoice, and we see the added here that was timed and it's quickly there, and then we see here that it's in our cart. So if we were to click onto our cart, we see our cart subtotal. And again, this experience is a bit different than a traditional cart experience because we're not purchasing those goods, because Kountable's purchasing them on the behalf of these users. And so you are creating an invoice rather than checking out, technically. So you would have the ability again to change the number of goods you're getting, to still add it to a bucket of favorites, or to delete that entirely from your cart. When we're in our cart, we have what address you're sending it to, because obviously where you're shipping it to could drastically change your shipping costs. And for these particular users, our entrepreneurs, that's a pretty important, the cost of that and where those are and how they are getting delivered is a pretty important piece of the puzzle. So we'll click to ship it to this address, and then what method, whether that's freight or that's aircraft, we select. And then we have the ability to submit the invoice with the total of with the number of goods and the shipping. And we can see where that's being shipped to here. So we would submit the invoice, and we get our confirmation screen here. So the idea is that a user would select which of their projects that they've submitted that this invoice goes to, and they could either download, add it to that project, or move on.
So cool. I think that's a wonderful recap of all the designs you've done. And I think you're one of the only designers that can claim that you're literally saving babies with your work. I think that's really cool, and it should be like your tagline as a designer. Saving babies, one design at a time.
Empowering entrepreneurs who save babies.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think it's really meaningful work. And so today we're going to be taking another approach on these designs, right? What are we going to be doing?
Yeah, so looking back at the constraints that we talked about, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that our users are often coming without a lot of, their internet speeds are significantly lower than what we may experience here in New York or in San Francisco where we're at. And so difference being in the US, the average load time is around 18.75 megabits per second, I believe is what it is. And so,
Sounds
then
right.
in Kigali it's 2.3. So we're talking drastic differences.
Oh, Matthias just brought up a serious point.
Yeah.
Zombie baby can't be saved.
That is true. Incubator.
Unfortunately, no. The
will
incubator
do nothing for him.
will not help zombie baby out. No, no.
That's funny. So we have to think strongly about those load times. And one of the, even as I've been traveling around this city trying to go on the subway, I'm trying to do something for work on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm SOL and I just need to sit back and relax and enjoy. So we also want to make it available. I don't know about you guys, but I use Spotify, and so to be able to make a playlist work offline with Spotify is wonderful. And so we want to allow for our users to do something similar, but also allow for them to create these invoices if they don't have the best internet at the time. And it's not an experience where it can be really frustrating if you're trying to purchase something, you're in the middle of a checkout and all of a sudden it's gone and you have to start over when you get internet again. So even creating this seamless process for our users so that if they're in the middle of doing this at the time that information is saved, and when they get internet again, they can submit that information.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. Chat users, when is the most frustrating time for you to lose connection when you're using an application? Let us know, because you only have about 12.5 minutes left before the chat and win. And so by letting us know what app maybe died on you and you got frustrated, you lost some information, just helps you win that hardcover notebook from moo.com.
And hear a new song that was written yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Hear a new song. My songs yesterday were very lame, so I apologize for those.
It was a good Blue's Clues take. So what I'm going to do first is start off, one of the things, so I took some time yesterday to do a little bit of, I will say I'm consistently doing comparative analysis when I am working on something. So if I'm trying to look up how does somebody else do an offline mode, what do they do and how do they accommodate for that? So a couple of things that I was looking at was both Google Maps. You can take a screenshot of a certain section on your map and save it and download it to your phone. And
so useful.
So useful. So again, if I'm on the subway and I don't know how to what stop should I get off at, I don't have internet, I'm just stuck on this thing until I get off or I figure it out. So
yeah.
If I can download a map, then I know where I'm headed. Or again, Spotify as an example. And one of the things that I like, especially with our users, that again, thinking about phone size and space is really important. So they may not have the latest, greatest phone, and we need to make sure that we're not taking up too much of capacity on their device as well. So I would love for this to be something that they opt into and not necessarily something that we automatically cache or download to their phone or device. So one of the things that Spotify does that is really nice is has that toggle on and off for an offline mode or to have downloaded a certain section. So what I'm going to do here is come back to our scrolled version of this application. We have the cart and the favorites here in the search bar. And I'm going to go ahead and move those up into the search bar as well on, actually, I'll do it here, on our landing page before we've started scrolling. And the reason I'm going to do that is to give us the space down below to add that toggle that we've talked about, that we like to allow them to download this automatically.
Hi Tony, hi Evan, thanks for joining us today. Tony mentions that he's a huge fan of function fusing with aesthetics, so UI UX attracted him, and he's slowly shifting from an advertising background. I think it's natural to be curious about that kind of stuff, and it's really cool to have you as part of the community.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. I love UX for the same reason that I can exercise my right and left brain. So.
Yes, it's good to have both sides working. And Evan has never really used XD or looked into using it, and so he thinks it's really awesome. I agree. You can download it for free today, try out these new features. It's super easy to get started.
Yeah.
And we have the XD Daily Creative Challenge to help you get started and give you prompts. Every day it gives you a challenge to try to complete. And there are also videos that we do every day to help you learn some of those UX UI skills, so it's really easy to get started.
So we're gonna, we probably could spend time and think about a better location for this so it's available on all screens, but what I want to do is allow for this. I want this offline availability or download to be associated to medical supplies. So I don't anticipate a user saying, I just want a certain clinical special supplies section on my phone, but allow them, if it's medical supplies, if it's IT equipment, if it's construction equipment, you would download a top level category, not the entire store, and not necessarily just a smaller section of this. So we're gonna have, could probably be, maybe you guys have some thoughts or ideas. We don't really have a side navigation, so I was looking at Google. They obviously have a hamburger nav where you're pulling out a
Menu,
thank you, and you could have the available offline there. Here we've kind of scrunched everything together, so we could potentially, come in and add in a side menu and add maybe we put our favorites in the menu, or we add our cart. We probably don't want to hide in a menu, but we could add our cart here, and then we would have a menu with our offline and our favorites in the side. But maybe what are some places you guys think that could or should be located?
Yeah, what do y'all think?
Y'all.
Getting to use my vernacular. We also had a competitive analysis where we looked at Amazon for inspiration for the search bar being kind of the key focus. So maybe we could go back and see if Amazon has solved this problem too. I don't think they have an offline mode though.
They do not, to my knowledge. But they do have the hamburger nav and all of the information that we want to fit in here as well. So maybe we could follow at least the way that that's structured.
Yeah. What other apps do y'all like looking at that maybe have an offline mode we can reference? And Daniel's asking how we can make a side-scrolling application like Tinder. I think that's a good question. You want to take advantage of the interactions for the device that you're designing for. There are probably some templates you can download for card-like applications that are similar to Tinder to even get started with XD resources. But really, you just want to design the screens that you see in Tinder, and then you would work with a developer to help develop that functionality for the phone. Do you have a better answer maybe for that question, or does that sound right?
Yeah, I think knowing capabilities is one that I rely heavily on my developer for. I mean, he's the one going to make that function happen, and so I think it's important to bring them in and be able to ask some of those questions.
Great, and I think you're moving toward the direction of having a hamburger icon. Is that what you're making room for?
I'm thinking so. I think we've got too much going on this screen, so maybe we can give it a try. And this may be one of those places where you sketch or wireframe a couple of different options, and you could test from a usability standpoint what is easiest, or as you're using it. Sometimes it just takes me building it and using it myself, and then I have a clear answer of what's better. Sometimes I'll bring in even just coworkers. I might have Sarah just come over, take a look at it, tell me if she feels like one's easier or more intuitive than another. And then obviously, if there's not a real clear answer, then that's a place where you could absolutely bring in users, or bring in people who maybe have a similar demographic if you don't have the ability to work with your users exactly.
Yeah, Voodoo mentioned Spotify having an offline mode.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's only for paying customers, which I guess I knew it, but I've always paid for Spotify, so I've always had it available.
Yep.
Hi Osama, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us again for day 3. And we only have about 5 minutes left before we announce a winner for the chat and win. So please say hi. Let us know who you are in chat. It's lovely to see you all. Hi, Philippe. Good to have you here. And MRA Anik. Hello. And Daniel mentions that Apple Music and Netflix have great offline modes. I definitely know about Netflix offline.
Yeah. You also download episodes or shows at a time, right?
Yep. For my flight back home in a couple hours, I will be downloading Daredevil to watch that with Logan. It's a good show so far.
Show? Movie?
It's a show. It's a TV show, actually.
Okay.
The movie is terrible. The TV show is pretty good. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Habir. Yeah, Adobe Live is completely right. You need to download a bunch of movies and shows before a flight so you have options available. And I like their offline mode. It's really intuitive.
Yeah.
And I like that they have a section for movies that you can download so you know what's available to you.
Because not all are.
Correct.
I can't say that I've downloaded too many.
Maybe you can start today.
Today's the day.
Uh-huh. Yep, Matthias, I have to get home tonight to do some more work tomorrow. New York City is wonderful. I lived here for 5 years though, so I know it pretty well.
So what do we think? Does it,
What do we think of the hamburger menu?
we have,
Yes or
if
no?
we look back at like, I feel like we're missing our top level, we're still missing the top level categorization.
Being able to have a drop down?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just set it and let it
Well,
as a user.
What about a combo box? So what if your search bar doubled as a category drop down?
Ooh. How would you see that working?
We could sketch some stuff out live.
I've got,
We have the GoPro
Not
over
a
there
new
so we
book,
can
but-
show you. If anyone knows what a combo box is, you know what I'm talking about, but really it's just a combination of a search box and a drop down. And so generally when I would do a combo box, it would be when there's a lot of options available. And so you'd either be able to search a keyword. I apologize in advance for the messy writing. Or if you use the drop down feature, you would have the sections that you could drill down into. And then you could have a submenu that would appear with a back arrow with selections available that would basically turn into a search term in the combo box. So medical
combo box.
supply. Yep. And then you would have an X there possibly. This is a really messy sketch, but sketches are meant to be messy.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, let me draw it a little bit bigger so people can see. But basically, medical supplies, and then there would be a drop down. So it would double over. And now Megan's gonna make it look fantastic.
We're gonna try. Combo box. So maybe we leave the hamburger navigation so we could allow for an offline mode, if I can select it.
Armando says, looks cool. And Matthias says, combo boxes are for people with munchies. Yep. And Daniel mentions it could work, but how about a menu like the home bar on the new iPhone X/Max that comes from down to up? I'm not super familiar with the home bar.
Oh, I do have an, I got what you're talking about.
But yeah, this is a good time to maybe try a couple different options.
If anyone wants to take a pass and send it our way, we will receive the love.
Yeah. I've used combo boxes when there's a lot of things to search from.
So in this case, would you imagine that you would see medical supplies because we'd already selected it?
Yeah, if you've already selected medical supplies, I imagine that would be what you're searching for in your navigation. And we're really close to our chat and win, so say hello. It seems like a lot of people are here today. A lot of chances to win a lovely notebook. You ready for it? Here we go. Notebook time, notebook time. It is time for notebook time. Yeah, I even got Megan to do it. Yes. So just like I just popped out this notebook to do some sketches live, you could use your new Moo notebook to do the same. So please just say hi. We got some people wanting pizza, saying hello, wondering what Moo is. Moo is a really great company. They create postcards, business cards, notebooks, and they do a really great job with their customer service. And so there's no better company to receive a notebook from. I love them, and I hope that you enjoy your new notebook. Jose Luis Contreras Sanchez. Congratulations! You win a notebook. Notebook winner. And Voodoo Val said she did the dance and song too. Thank you.
Good work.
Congratulations! Tell us what you're going to use it for. I'm so curious. Everyone has such a different reason to use a notebook, right, Megan?
It's true.
You use yours for to-do lists, is that right?
To-do lists, sketches, musings.
Nice, musings. Wild Thoughts was another wonderful choice for notebook use. Congratulations! Such great prizes. I'm really glad that we're partnering with such a great company like Moo. Eon says he needs a notebook real bad. His 24-inch Mac is too big to carry around all the time. Yeah, it's hard. It's nice to have a mini notebook in your back pocket or something. It's really handy. Congratulations. Let us know what you're going to use it for. Yeah, that was a long name. It's a cool name. I like it a lot. Cool. So we got our combo box here.
Yeah. So let's do, I'm going to make this a little bit taller so they're easier to click. I've been told and have experienced when you have a short clickable space that you can get really frustrated. So let's give people enough space that they can click around or slide around on these without accidentally hitting up here.
For those fat finger users like me.
That's right. Giant thumbs.
Yep.
So we've got our combo box.
Combo box.
Munchy combo box.
Yeah.
So maybe we will create now this side navigation. Now that we've created a hamburger nav, we've got to have something in it.
Yep.
Hamburger nav and a combo box.
All food related stuff. Paco's in chat. Pac-Man.
So you can see some of these apps, how they pull out this nav. Is it on top of, or does it push things over? So we could kind of play with how we want to do that. Let's see. Let's say that.
Devin Dina, let me know how to pronounce that. Devin Dina mentioned it would be hard to recognize the combo box. I don't agree, but we'd love to hear your feedback on why you think it's not the best choice and what would you maybe use instead. It's always a great opportunity for us to get feedback as we're working live too.
Absolutely. So we're going to
So right now you're moving over the content because the hamburger menu is going to expand and literally push that content over to the right side.
correct.
Sweet.
Yep. So I'm going to send it to back.
It's always nice to show every interaction that you want users to be able to have in your application too.
Yeah. Yep.
Oops. Ian mentions that he's studying XD. He graduated from graphic college a few years ago and he's learning XD as his new venture. Welcome.
Nice.
XD is fun to learn.
Absolutely. It's a good practice just to keep up learning new things and keep yourself fresh.
So Devin mentioned they looked at Amazon and they also use a combo box, but there is a text saying all beside the scroll button.
Text saying all behind.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at this? It's a good time to do a competitive comparison. It's at the top. Yeah, they have that, I guess, little indicator there where they have the categories on the left side and the keyword search on the right. But if you were to select something in that combo box, I think it would populate into the text box. Oh, no, it wouldn't. You would be searching within that section.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yep, which is, I feel like Amazon has such a large number of products that's a pretty good bet on there.
What about on mobile? Did they do the same thing?
I could pull it up on my phone. We could look at, I guess we could see if they were responsive. Not responsive.
It should be responsive. It's Amazon. Amazon's not responsive on the web. Weird.
No.
But yeah, we can show it on the GoPro, so let's see what they do.
Move this over here so it can reach. I fooled myself with my own design.
All right, so if we go to Amazon, they have the
you know what?
there.
I don't think this phone is connected to the internet, but
Gotcha.
just a general search. But then they have the departments over here. So search shop by department. This would be, I'm imagining, that list.
But you have to go into the hamburger menu to get to the categories?
Correct.
Seems a bit hidden to me.
Right. Which is what we were kind of trying to avoid with this
Yeah.
box. Combo box. I keep wanting to call it. What's the
Hamburger kebab? Bento box.
Bento box.
Nice. I love bento boxes. Oh, we should have just listened to Daniel. He said mobile is just a search box. Yep, we found that out.
New. So we could still have shop by department, even though we have it. We could maybe do a combo where we have it in both places, right? It's here in this drop down. We could give people multiple options, or we could just then think about what should be in this side navigation. Maybe we have maybe we've moved favorites and cart here.
Those are always
or at least favorites. Or we could just put in for now our available offline. And we want to have that toggle in here. What other things should we put in this side navigation?
I think having all the categories would be great to be able to search from as well. Maxim just joined. Hi, welcome. He also asked if we could show the grid system we're using. And so maybe Megan can talk a little bit about when she uses the grid system.
I'm assuming we're not talking about repeating grid, just grid in general.
Yeah, I think he's talking about responsive design. And so we're designing an application right now, and we're not really using layouts or grids while working currently.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so I would say right now I'm not doing too much. I generally, rule of thumb, try to stick to a 8-pixel grid to some extent, but if I'm quickly iterating and designing fast, then I may or may not stick to it too strongly. But when I'm going back through all of my designs, I'll want to clean up and make sure that everything's evenly spaced, that things are abiding by that grid that we've set. So I would say generally, rule of thumb, I'm quickly iterating and not abiding too strictly, but going back and combing through it.
Yeah, I think Megan's done a great job of abiding by the grid system just when she's been putting elements on the page. We also talked about how she created all of her design system in the library in XD, so she had all her components ready, measured out properly, and so she's just been designing off of wireframes by clicking and dragging in the components that were already defined in that system. And so we didn't have to build a lot from scratch, which really helped the design process a lot. So the grid system's kind of already established, but she's measuring the elements and making sure things fit into that 8-pixel grid. So hi, Gabrielle.
Looking at how I'm wondering if we actually should go ahead and do it over the top of instead of pushing everything to the side, given that our colors, there's not too much differentiation between our colors.
To make it stand out a little bit more.
Yeah. So if we do it this way, then a user could, maybe we put the X where that hamburger nav was, or we allow for an arrow back, or a user could just click here to get back to what they were looking at previously. So what I'm gonna do is go grab, we have an X already established somewhere else, so instead of recreating that, it should be in our system, but I don't know if it is.
So yeah, you can see Megan right now looking through the assets panel where she saved all of her symbols, all of her typeface choices, and colors as well.
All right, so we'll bring it in here.
Eon was also asking about how to excite people for the design and content of applications. He's specifically working on 3 of his own, and he's wondering how to get people excited.
It probably depends on the content. What are you building?
Yeah, tell us what you're working on. What do you need to get hyped up? I think having great design and branding is one way of doing it, but it would help to know more about the product. And yes, as a reminder, we have about 48 minutes left before we do some portfolio reviews. So if you want some feedback, maybe Eon, on what you're working on, and you have some Behance projects to show, submit your portfolio and we can take a look at those. We'll be picking a couple people from the list to be able to give you some feedback on your designs and portfolio. And I think Megan's a great resource to tap into for great UX and UI feedback. Eric always wants feedback. Nice. It's good to get feedback. It's always good to improve.
All right, so I'm going to make this, right now we have it as an opacity, but it kind of gets confusing, and that wouldn't be how the interaction really is on the device. It's going to be a solid color, so I'm going to go ahead and make that so. And then we'll also have this X here, which may or may not be too confusing over the top. Maybe we want it here. It gets a little muddled if we have it over our
background.
Yeah. And we could, eventually we could have that conversation with our developer of how does this hamburger transition to this? Does it just slide out, or does that become an animation that we're creating? So I'm gonna go ahead and put available offline. It's more of a setting that you would come to look for, but if we are wanting to also add in our categories of how we're searching, that's probably more prominent information that we're using on a more frequent basis. So maybe we'll want to add in shop by, let's call it departments. And we could even have this be, I know I'm looking at what we were doing this comparative analysis earlier of Amazon. They have this shop by department and they list all of the departments here. That becomes a really long scroll. So maybe we do or we don't want that there because we already have this drop down also here. So maybe we make this an arrow that people can click into and our menu can expand.
Yeah, we don't want to show all the information unless they're looking for that information. Gabrielle's asking about some XD features of when they're going to allow or create prototyped sliders. So that sounds like animations. I know XD doesn't have animation capabilities yet, but if you go on user voice and upvote or suggest features that you want XD to include, people can vote on them. And that's actually how XD categorizes and picks the different updates that they should prioritize. So it's a great opportunity as part of the community to give feedback back to XD and the team to know what they should build next. So hopefully someone can help you out with a link to user voice and you can vote for that experience of horizontal sliding elements. And maybe someone else has already suggested it and you can just upvote their suggestion. Oh, Eon clarifies by saying execute. He meant, how do I execute the design and content for these potential apps? So that means that you need to open up XD and play around with building some designs. Getting started with XD is super easy. Again, we have that daily creative challenge that's almost coming to a close, but there are some great videos and tutorials linked with it, and templates around different types of layouts and designs you can get started with to learn the basic skills in XD. So I highly suggest you just download it, play around with it, and see what you can build. And then let us know how it goes. Come back into chat and let us know that you're a pro designer in a couple days. The Slack channel is also a really great resource to provide your designs, to get feedback from the community, and to participate in the Creative Challenge. So thank you, Voodoo Val, for linking that.
So another thing we could do is, now that we're allowing for the hamburger nav, allows us to have a bit more information and content. So we could move favorites over here and that might allow for us to eventually have buckets of favorites. So in the same way that we shop by department, if we were to click and more information came in and we saw all of the departments available, we could also potentially someday have favorites where you would click in and we could have our buckets of favorites. So if I knew that I was doing 3 different projects, I could save 3 different buckets as I'm kind of shopping and trying to figure out what would be the best products to provide for that particular project. We could allow that as a potential feature for our users later. So now we have available offline. So one thing we might want to do is, now that we've created this, we've kind of hidden it a little bit. So we might want to give some sort of potentially an onboarding experience. So for the first time that somebody were to click into the store, that we would want to have them see what are their options and how do they navigate through something. So what we could do is, I'm going to take this one. Let's change it here. If you haven't noticed or haven't seen too, you can do math inside of this. So if I am working on a 16 pixel grid and I don't want to have to think about what that is, I can just add those and voila.
Perfect.
Adobe
I don't need
Kountable.
to do math.
Now they spell for us,
they do
our math.
Perfect. RSIF just said they're downloading XD right now. They've never used it, but they're seeing it's very useful with a simple interface. Congratulations!
Yeah, good choice.
Definitely join the Slack channel and share your first XD project. We'll be excited to see it there.
You can do that with a daily challenge, right?
Yeah, definitely, with a daily challenge. It's a good way to get your skills set up and to sharpen them. I need to do this again too. It's a lot of fun to do daily challenges like this.
Yeah.
And Daniel's asking if it's important to code UX and UI design, or if that's overboard.
I think there's value in it for sure. I've started. I've pulled up a couple of platforms that teach you how to code a few times. I haven't gotten too far through it, to be honest, but I think there are certain things that would be nice to know, just basic constraints. So if that's different ways that you structure the code so that I know as a designer, this is the best way for me to design it so they can quickly get through something, I think that there would definitely be value for me in that. I think right now, at least even within the company that I'm at now, even though we are a small team, I think we're big enough that I wouldn't have the capacity to do all of those things. So I think eventually in a position, if you're not wanting to be the jack of all trades, you may need to pick and choose one or the other, but having knowledge of both is I'm sure to some extent beneficial. But
yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I don't want to have to do code for all my projects, but I think being able to speak that language and understand the constraints within developing the product that you're designing for is really important. But it's always better to work with a team, and other people's skills are going to complement yours and make you have a better product in the end. And so I think it's good to be good at what your job is. And if it's design, then I'm just going to focus on the design and have someone else focus on the code so that we can do a great job with both and work as a team.
Yeah, I will say that one of the best things in working with those teams has been just to sit right next to somebody and ask them so many questions, and then you kind of get that understanding or learn those things that would be beneficial from learning code itself, and probably better because they're going to be able to explain the why behind the exact question you have rather than just learning what to do like you might in a class.
Yeah, just the yes or no. You actually get to know the why.
Yeah.
Nice. Ian is asking if he can reach out to you, Megan, or I'm not sure if it's he or she, but let me know. They want to reach out to you to ask you for help when they need it. And
yeah,
I know you're very
course.
busy, but
Of course.
Thanks, Megan. It sounds like you're open to people contacting you with questions or help when they need it, which is another great reason why I love this community. Everyone is so friendly.
So we already did it. The portfolio review is in 40 though, 40 minutes.
So in 40 minutes, if you want us to give you feedback on your portfolio, submit your portfolio. We're going to be looking at a couple of them and showcasing it, giving you feedback, and letting you know how you can improve it, which is always super helpful. I feel like the portfolio is a never-ending project for a designer. I've been working on my portfolio for years now, and I still have the one-pager up, so.
It feels like when you, every time you start a new job, you have to, or want to move on, you have to go back and do it all over again.
Yep. And now with the company too, I have a company website and a personal website, and it's just a lot.
Extra.
Yep, extra.
So maybe we want to, we're making this up as we go. Maybe we want to have some sort of a call out to each of these features. So if we wanted, we could start with the hamburger nav and we could put some text in here.
Cool. Is this showcasing what it would be like when you tap it, or what's?
This would be maybe an onboarding experience. So the first
onboarding.
time we click into the store, maybe we have these things that pulsate or some sort of animation here that allows the user to know that we could say to save store for offline mode.
Spell check would help you out.
Mode, like toad. To save store for offline mode, select the, my text is somewhere. So there's two different types of text boxes. You can either have where it fits to the text itself, or you have area text, so point text, area text. So if I do area text, then it allows me to create a constrained box here.
Select the ham.
The ham.
The ham. We got some slang going on here.
So maybe we wouldn't want to call it navigation. Select the, what would you call that for a user? Obviously, we as designers call it hamburger navigation, but
I would say menu button, I think.
Good call.
Yay, words. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us. And Darnay mentions, yep, portfolio sites, very long stuff.
Yep.
Never-ending project. Ham menu, Logan suggests. I don't know if ham menu is going to be recognizable for people.
Pig menu, ham menu.
So many food-related things. I want an ice cream menu. Mochi, ice cream. What's your favorite dessert? I had mochi yesterday and it was so good.
I had some famous, I don't know, cookie place
what was
here
it?
in town.
It's poke?
No, it was a cookie place.
Cookie. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Schmackeries?
Man, is it where they invented the cronut?
That is a great question.
There's a cronut in New York City, which is a mix between a donut and a croissant, and it's delicious.
It's delicious.
Made at a bakery, but the cookies in New York City are pretty good. There are a couple different options, but you had famous ones last night, so you must be a fan of cookies.
It had well, somebody suggested it, but there was potato chips in there.
Potato chips in the cookie?
In the cookie.
That's so bizarre. That's so weird. Was it good?
I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I would definitely try that. Gabrielle suggests we call it the spam menu.
The spam
It kind of is the
menu.
spam menu. It has everything in it. It's a mix of everything, like spam. I know we're making Daniel hungry. He wants a hamburger now. Creme brulee, yum. Good choice, Joran. And Daniel likes a strawberry banana shake from Oberweis. That sounds like a good place. Warm chocolate chip cookies are Adobe's fave. Classic. Good choice. Nice, we got a little tooltip that appears. And we can use the new XD feature of time transitions for the onboarding experience.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, I'm gonna make this a little bit darker.
Chicken and waffles menu, Gabrielle says.
Good choice.
Chocolate chip cookies by Jordan. Star Wars gummies, that sounds delicious.
So to do time transitions, we need to select the artboard itself rather than any particular layer, and we'll drag it over, and that allows us to have the trigger of both time or tap. So we're going to do time. I'm going to leave it, I think default is 2 seconds, so I'm going to leave it at that. And we're going to do ease in and out, and we'll see the transition. And then from this artboard, we're also just going to, we would potentially have multiple screens, so we're going to take it to, for now, to the store page. So we're also going to have that be timed transition. So you would see this, it would quickly pop open. Maybe we want to allow for a user to always be able to skip an intro. Say they don't need it, they already know what they're looking at. We're going to create a little skip button down here.
Nice. Like skip intro in Netflix.
Yes, which is a great feature if you're binging.
Yep. So Gabrielle was asking what time transitions are. Hopefully this will show you what we mean. It's a new feature in XD with the latest release, so it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, before I get going, I will just show you right now. So basically after those 2 seconds, I didn't tap on anything. It just automatically showed up and showed that next screen. So
He said sweet.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it is a really cool new feature.
That it is.
Yep, we used it yesterday to give some notifications on when you added something to your favorites or added something to your cart. So if you go back to day 2, Megan did a great job of covering all the new XD features in the latest release. And there's also a new blog post with a bunch of short videos where you can learn it yourself if you just search for the Adobe blog and find that latest post about XD features. Hi Chris, we're doing well. How are you doing today? I'm doing well. How are you doing, Megan?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
What are some things maybe that you guys want to see that you haven't, or is there anything, I mean, obviously we're going to keep going with this, but if there's things that you would rather see and we could transition to, we're happy to do that too.
Yeah, this is all about helping you chatters learn something new. So if there's something you want to learn in XD or something you want to see, let us know. Thanks for the link, Voodoo Val. Gabrielle says he's delighted. He learned something new today. I feel like it's important to learn something new every day if you can, even if it's something small. Eon asks if every photo or word can be linked or transitioned to another page. Yep.
As many as you want.
Anything that you can create in XD can be linked. It's really nice.
You could go as overboard as you would want to.
And Daniel's asking if you can import XD files into After Effects for animations or effects. I've been working on this recently, and I've just been using the export feature from XD to export my different designs for After Effects. So that's my process, and it's been working really well. So I just have an XD file where I create all these fun illustrations for my animations. I export them and then import them into After Effects to animate them.
And it keeps all your layers and...
Usually I just export them as a PNG because I don't need to use the layers. Otherwise, I might recreate it in After Effects. I don't think there's an import feature yet, so
Gotcha.
that's something that you can bother the X team about using user voice, so you can suggest that feature to XD. And yes, we only have about 30 minutes left before the portfolio submission deadline, so get your portfolios in there if you'd like some feedback. So now we have the second piece of onboarding about favorites. To follow up on Eon, they would need to be in different text boxes, correct? Not every word in a single text box going to a different link, correct? So yes, a single element would be a text box, and so you can't link a single word, that's right, unless it's its own text box, or you create a shape over that text to link somewhere else. So you can create a fake element that has no fill on top of a single word in a text box if you want to link that single word. Otherwise, you would link that whole text box.
Mm-hmm. You can always create an empty box too. So if you wanted something to be hyperlinked, you could just create basically an empty box that you then could link somewhere if you wanted to.
Exactly. Yep, there's a lot of flexibility in the program, so you can do a lot with XD. We also went over the design spec feature yesterday, and creating a prototype is something you've seen Megan do while she's been working on the application to prove out and test everything she's building live, which is really handy. You used to have to download 3 different pieces of software to do design, specs, and prototyping, and now it's all in one with XD. Super easy. And Danielle is asking how long it took you to master XD, Megan, which I think is a great question.
It is a good question. I would say I wouldn't call myself a master of it, so to be determined, but in a quick amount of time, and I think this is a great, there's a couple of things you could do. One is when you create a new project, when you open up, if I were to close out of this and open up the program, there's basically a tutorial file that teaches you a lot of the things that you need to know in order to work within the project. I had taken a formerly created project and recreated it in XD, and just by the practice of doing that, I quickly learned the program, the skills that I might need, and how that differs from other projects potentially, or products potentially. So it was really quick and easy to learn. I would say I spent a weekend working in it and felt like I already knew how to do most of the things that I would need to in order to make a great product.
Yeah, XD is really easy to pick up. I think it's also important to note that Megan is kind of new to XD, so the fact that you think she's a master is really awesome to me.
Flattery.
So how long have you been using XD?
Maybe in total a couple of weeks, not a ton of time. I'd used
Impressive.
It, yeah.
Only a couple of weeks and you already consider her a master. I think she's using it fantastically. She's very organized with her file structure and using the libraries and assets in XD, so it's really cool to see her work. Yep, everyone's impressed. Lots of wows. I'm impressed too. Yep, so we got our onboarding experience almost settled here. We're using that new time transition feature. Eric said he's been using it for 2 months and he's still not that good. I disagree. I think I've seen some of your work on stream and it looks really great. So you're doing a great job, Eric. Thanks for being here.
All right, so we're gonna do several timed, let's see. We're gonna move this one to this screen instead, and we're gonna also have that be timed at 2 seconds. Let's maybe try 3. I felt like the last one, it was pretty quick to be able to read all of the content we're looking at. Then we're gonna move this one as well. And lastly, we will move to the final screen here. And we also want to give people the ability, if they were to just skip the intro, that they would tap that and it would take them to this screen.
Great. And if that were a symbol, you'd be able to apply one link for all of those elements.
Let's try it.
Oh, cool.
Let's just see it work.
Do it live.
So if we call this a symbol, so maybe we'll just say
skip. I know you label your things very clearly though, so I don't want to suggest anything.
Then we will create that link is now there. So now if I copy and paste it here, not only does it place it in the exact spot, but it also intuitively knows to link to that page, which is pretty awesome.
Adobe Cadabra.
Adobe Cadabra. She loves it.
I do. I'm sorry. I'll keep saying it.
No apologies. All right, so the timed it should
Perfect.
Start.
Nice.
Move through.
Perfect.
All of our onboardings, and we could also skip and get there. So I actually think we don't want it to wait. 3 seconds felt like a long time actually for this particular transition. So when a user first taps into the store, we don't want to have them sitting there for too long without giving them the intro, but we do want to allow for enough time to read all of these introduction pieces.
Mm-hmm. It's looking good.
Sweet.
Gabrielle has a question about it. He's trying to apply time transitions on artboards instead of elements. Oh no, he said that we're trying to apply time transitions to artboards instead of elements, and he's trying to apply time transitions to an element, and it doesn't allow him. It sounds like a bug.
Yeah, well, it actually, you can't, so you're not able to select on a particular, at least from the tutorial I watched yesterday, you're not able to select an object and have that be timed. You actually, it has to be artboard by artboard. So the only way you'll get that timed drop down is if it's on the artboard itself, from what
I'm learning too.
watched.
Thanks, Megan.
I don't know if the plan is to change that or not, but
I think that makes sense because a timed animation should be a full screen interaction and not necessarily a single element. But maybe you can tell us what you're working on, Gabrielle, and why you want to have a time transition for a single element.
yeah. Yeah, I thought the same thing when I started working on it yesterday, playing around with the feature. I was trying to use a specific element as well, but I would agree. I don't know that I can think of, now that I've used it on artboards, that I can think of particular elements I would want to time.
Yeah.
So to give you guys another example of a timed transition.
We're gonna favorite some infant incubators.
Yeah. Actually,
saving babies over here.
Trying to remember, okay, where we timed it from.
Well, we can start early, right? And it'll probably end up working.
So, I think we clicked from here, we clicked to favorite something, and it showed up as a favorite, and then quickly said view add to favorites, and we could view those favorites here.
Perfect. What a powerful feature. I'm gonna have to use
Cadabra.
this. Adobe Cadabra.
I beat you to it.
Yeah, you did. Good job. I'm glad it's catching on. It's not like fetch.
Yeah.
Was that the word? Yeah, fetch. Fetch isn't gonna happen.
So another thing we might want to do is in the case that a user does come into the screen and they are offline, their internet isn't that great, but they haven't saved something to work offline. We might want to create some sort of a 404 page, which are always fun, but we could also make it an informative 404 page. So rather than, I actually love, but when Amazon's doesn't work, they just have really sad looking, they're like dogs just sitting there and they say sorry, which is
really
entertaining.
Cute. Makes you feel bad too for the application.
Yeah. But maybe we want to also tell people how they could save something. So we want to say like, sorry, at this point you can't get into this store, but if you want to save this offline for the next time you don't have internet, here's where or how you could do that.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful that if you give your user an error state to help educate them on how to avoid it in the future.
Yeah. So.
Hi, Jose. Hi, John. Hi, Diane. Thanks for being here. And we have some cute illustrations. Maybe we can leverage one of those.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go ahead and open up an Illustrator file that hopefully has it in there.
Great, you're gonna get to see another Adobe product.
If I didn't, I think we got rid of the
other screens, that's right, we did, for the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Great, that's fine, we can look at Illustrator. If you wanted to create an icon for XD, it's really easy to create an icon in Illustrator and bring it into XD, but we've actually also built icons in XD itself. And so if you want to catch Megan doing some of that, go back to yesterday's stream and you can see her make a couple different icons in XD. These are so cute.
So maybe we'll take this one and say, the nice thing too, as you guys can see, is like how quickly these just translate to what we would want to use them as. So because they're vector, they're the same file, structured the same way. We can edit them nearly exactly the same as well. So that's pretty awesome to not have to try to figure it out differently or work them, have to like change too much on them, which is great. So maybe what we're gonna do is, so that we can show
perfect
that
lines.
Nothing is.
We got 2 lines overlapping though.
Yeah. We talked about that yesterday.
You can move that one up to the top possibly, and it should help eliminate it.
This?
Oh no, it still contains
it's
it.
It's connected.
Then the other option we had is we can mask it, or I guess you could repeat it on top of itself.
Why not?
Yeah.
For now. And then I'm also going to do that. I'm gonna fill these with just white.
Hi Oleg, thanks for joining us. We got about 18.5 minutes left before the portfolio submission deadline. Get your portfolios in there so we can give you some wonderful feedback. Great question, Chris. Adobe Live hosts a bunch of different streams about a bunch of different Adobe products, and so you'll have to check out the schedule to see what product you want to check out and when it's coming up. But we do these streams every week, and so you can catch Adobe Live showing off a bunch of cool products.
So I'm just gonna get rid of these floating boxes for now. And we're going to change.
It's
There's
very
not a scale
appropriate.
feature, huh? I wonder if.
So in Illustrator, you could expand these lines so that they become their own object, but
Yeah.
I believe in XD you can only change the stroke. So when you make it a smaller size, you're gonna have to adjust that stroke. Maybe if you use the new responsive resize tool. No, it seems like you had it enabled and it still didn't apply it to the stroke, so it's still something you have to do manually.
All right. So maybe in the future I would change it first and then go through and edit. Or change the size first so that I'm only editing things once.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looking good. I like the empty boxes. It's a good indication that something went wrong.
Error.
Error, empty boxes.
Especially if your goal is to fill a bunch of boxes.
Yep.
All right. There's also a, what's typically the no internet symbol? Like a cloud with an X in it or something?
Yeah, we can also look at Adobe Stock again to see what other people do, but no internet. It's usually, gosh, there's some bad visuals. I mean, there's the dinosaur on certain browsers. This little dino where you can play a game. I think this no internet with Jurassic Park styling is pretty great. But yeah, there's a bunch of different options.
That's amazing.
Great, so we only have about 15.5 minutes, so please get in your questions for Megan. I know that a lot of you are learning XD or new to UX, so it'd be a good opportunity to ask about particular problems you're running into. Daniel says a cable cut in half is a good icon for no internet too.
That's a great idea. Have you ever had copywriters that you work with in product design?
Definitely. I think I've definitely had to take on copywriting when we haven't had that team, but it's been really great to work with copywriters for particular verbiage and vernacular to be consistent across all of your products, especially if you're working on a big team. If you only have one product, it's a little bit easier, but it's still great to have a content strategy team member or a copywriter to really focus on the language and voice of your product, which is really important for how people interact with it, because language is an important way and avenue for people to understand what your product is trying to communicate.
Yep.
Logan suggests train off the tracks. That'd be a very visual representation.
Sad.
Do you often work with copywriters, or?
I haven't. We're trying to hire somebody to do that, so if anyone knows someone.
Yeah, if you know any copywriters who want to get into a really meaningful project, let Megan know.
It's always the part I struggle with the most, I think. Download the department. Download any department for offline mode by using the menu.
Finding the department.
We'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, often or a lot of times will also put in placeholder text, so I don't need to spend time or cycles worrying about the text.
Yeah.
But knowing that you want to have a representation there in the future is good. Eon's asking, how do you get a map onto your app for location purposes? Because the app I'm trying to develop has to do with service business. I'm not sure I understand that question completely. It sounds like you want to get some development questions answered maybe, because getting a map on your app for location purposes is something you would definitely rely on a developer to help integrate. You can design map interfaces, but there are a lot of APIs that are available for map services, so you don't need to worry about the UI for the map at all, really. You kind of just plug in what already works and maybe do a layer of styling on top of it. But yeah, that's maybe more of a dev question.
Yeah.
But Maxim wonders what your favorite typeface or favorite font is.
You know, for now, because we potentially will need to iterate in the future and have this in multiple languages, I tried to keep with something that already has all of those established. So that for me was Roboto. Me personally, I really love, let me find it so you can see it, if it's in here. Is it all of my, probably not all of my system fonts are in here, huh?
It should have all of your system fonts in XD. XD would normally load all of them automatically. I'm glad you like Roboto though. Roboto and Lato used to be my favorites because I love material design.
Yeah. It's very well thought through, so there's not much that you have to, and they have such a robust guidebook online for you to follow that makes it really, really easy to follow their instruction, and you know you're going to come out with a great product.
They actually came out with a new font that I'm obsessed with, new typeface, called Google Sans.
Let's see it. Do you have it up?
I have it up actually on my screen. I've been using it for a project I've been working on. So this typeface right here is Google Sans. It's new with a new update to material design, and I love it. I think it's super clean, super easy to read, and it's been a lot of fun using it.
It's nice and more bubbly.
It is more bubbly. It's more clear to read, I feel like, especially at smaller sizes.
Is that one a project you're working on?
It is. It's a plugin for XD that I'm working on,
Nice.
which you should check out at Max if you're going to Max this year.
There
You'll
you
hear
go.
a bit more about it in the future.
I've played a lot with Appersue. If you've ever,
Appersue.
It's kind of a similar vibe. I feel like it's like more bubbly and round than what I feel like working with
Nice. I like that.
Roboto has been.
It's good to mix up a couple different typefaces too. I was obsessed with Bebas Nue for a while too, which is a really great, really tall typeface, which is fun. Jamie likes Roboto. Daniel loves Comic Sans. Oh man, what a beautiful typeface knot. Just kidding, it's Futura. Gotcha. Futura is pretty classic and good. Poppins is also a really great join. Poppins was my favorite for a little while. It's a really good typeface.
Nice.
And the Adobe Typekit is really great. You can easily find typefaces to plug into all of your Adobe products. And Poppins was what I found on Typekit actually. Hofler is what Logan has been using. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. I'll have to look it up. Papyrus Voodooval, yeah. Oof. You want to go there? Yeah, Comic Sans and Papyrus are like the two joke typefaces of the design world.
I had a manager who would always, when doing presentations that were more just for fluff, showing like the wireframing of something, she would use Comic Sans so we didn't get too hung up on the design because the design didn't matter.
Yeah, it's a total label for like, this does not matter. This is definitely a wireframe. Do not pay attention to design. That's smart.
The design does not matter.
Papyrus again, Adobe Live, thanks. Proxima, yeah, Proxima is really good. I like that typeface as well. We got some good suggestions here.
So one other thing I think is important for us to at least think about or pay attention to is if you guys have ever heard of lazy loading.
Yes.
So in the case that your internet is low or things are loading, they're just taking a lot of time. We want to give some sort of an indication to our users that we are working on it. This is loading. It's not. The product hasn't just died on you. You don't need to click a bunch of buttons. Just give it some time. And so some ways that you might be able to do that is stripping something almost of the content. It's almost like a glorified wireframe in some senses, but creating containers or boxes and showing that there's information and it's working on loading. If I'm explaining that very well, I'm kind of fumbling.
No, I think that was a great explanation. Also, we have Eon leaving. Thank you for joining us, Eon.
Thanks,
and Eon was wondering what the best way to reach you is. So how can people reach you after the stream?
I have a Behance, which probably is appropriate for this. It's old, so forgive the old work. It's back from schoolwork. Or LinkedIn is fine as well. So
LinkedIn or Behance, Megan Sornson. Find her, follow her, ask her questions. Thanks for joining us again, Eon. It's been great having you. And Jose is back. Jose, did you ever let us know what you're going to use your notebook for? We'd be very curious to know.
Did you know you won it?
Yeah, did you know you won it? Because you did. You won the Chat and Win.
Chat and Win.
Hi, Martin. Hi, Lennon. Jordan, yes, SF Pro is a really great typeface too. And Lennon is asking, which one of the fundamentals for UX design making a transition from graphic design? So I think your question is, what are the fundamentals you should learn if you're moving from graphic design into UX design?
I think the biggest thing that has been different in my experience, and I'd love to hear what you think as well, has been process. So I think really being able to explain and have a lot of reasoning behind your design in a way that I think when I was doing branding projects or more aesthetically driven projects, it was a lot more about the conceptual reasoning behind, and I think UX is more factual or founded reasoning behind something because it's all about usability rather than evoking an emotion like a brand might be.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think it's a natural transition for a lot of curious UI designers to want to figure out more about UX, because UX is really just learning more about your users and the analytics and the reasons why people interact with your designs the way they do. Again, I think it's it's really tied together. And so UX is tied to research, tied to user testing, tied to figuring out what people prefer with A/B testing, things like that. So the fundamentals you need to learn are just a curiosity, and then from there learning the skills and tools to be more privy to that information to know why things are successful.
Yeah, that's great.
Joshua is wondering if XD should add the ability to add playable videos and prototypes because it's easier to sell the idea with a video sometimes. And I think that's a fair point. There is a way to record you interacting with the prototype in XD, so if you want to record yourself giving a demo of your application while you're designing it, I think that's a really useful tool that they have here. And so maybe instead of a video in your app, you can make a video of your app, and I think that's a really easy way to sell it, to show like a working demo of it, just like Megan is showing right now. She could record this, put in some sound to explain what she's doing, and then export it out and send out a quick video to whoever is interested.
Does it automatically record sound?
I should know the answer to this question, I do not, but even if it doesn't record audio in this recording from XD, you can open it in After Effects and add a quick audio recording. So I think just being able to record a demo of you interacting with it is kind of a really awesome feature. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your needs for showing off your application. Megan's gonna play the video she just recorded, and if she has her sound on, we can answer this question right here and now.
No sound.
So no sound, but you can still see the interaction. You can see where her cursor is, which is really handy and helpful. And this, I mean, this looks super impressive, and it took her 2 seconds to put together, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi Martin, thanks for joining us. You're asking a lot of questions about Adobe Live. Yep, this is a show where we show you a fantastic designer who gets to showcase their skills while building either a real product or working on a project for fun. And this week has been all about inclusive design, so I recommend you go back and check out the videos from Tuesday where we had some great interviews. And this is day 3 with Megan, so you can go back and check out her earlier streams as well.
So we may be able to actually turn this into an overlay, huh?
So we're gonna make the menu an overlay. And we only have about 3 minutes left before portfolio reviews, so please get your submissions in if you want us to give you some feedback on your portfolios.
So to do an overlay, we'll go ahead and do our typical prototyping, but instead of in transition, we're gonna do overlay. And if this works how I think it might, we're gonna have it slide right. So slide to the right, and then we can see how this will work. So we still have this white box up here. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Because we want to see the navigation menu up top. So then we have the slide to the right. We do, when we do that, miss there's no sort of overlay effect, which I don't think is currently a part of the prototype. There's no option to add a background necessarily. So we're gonna instead, at least for this screen in particular, that overlay is kind of important because we want to be sure that people know where one ends and the next begins. So we're going to go ahead and keep it as I guess I could just hit undo a bunch of times. As a normal transition, we'll just have it dissolve.
Great.
So you can see that.
Looking nice.
And if we close out of it,
design mode.
Thank you.
I don't know. Maybe
yeah. Prototype, we will click that and get back to, we actually would want it to be, if we just click it, we can do the transition will be previous artboard. So if somebody could click from that wherever.
Great, and I think this is a good time to call it. We've done a lot with Megan these past 3 days. We've made a lot of screens and a lot of progress. Do you want to quickly recap what you worked on today?
Yeah, so today we tried to take a look at what maybe an offline mode could look like for these users. So as we start to think about an additional way in the theme of this week of inclusivity, a way that we could continue to include users who may have something like low internet speeds and not keep them from our application because of that. So what we did was we added in a side navigation that has the ability to turn on an offline mode, and then we taught people where that might be in a navigation or in an onboarding experience, and we also worked on a quick lazy load page.
Nice, so a lot, and now the lovely Megan will help us out with some portfolio reviews.
Yay! I'm excited to see them. Oh, yes.
Hi, oh man,
Beep, beep, beep,
welcome
beep,
to
beep,
space. Woo, woo, woo. I feel like we're green. Are we green?
Oh, we're very green.
Nice, we're very green. We're aliens now, so welcome to the
We're
alien
like,
stream.
the Wicked Witch of the West.
I don't want to be the Wicked Witch. Oh no. Yeah, but we're ready for these portfolio reviews, and I recognize some of these names, so I'm excited. First up, we got Daniel. Daniel, you've been active in chat, so thank you for participating. We're so happy to give you feedback. We're gonna start out maybe with some of these Adobe challenges that you've done, which is really cool.
I like your profile photo, your illustration there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a chess icon, it looks like, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's good to have a brand when you're working on your stuff too, so people can identify you. But yeah, Megan, do you want to pick one to start out with?
Have you seen any of his daily challenges?
I have not.
Maybe we pick one of those.
Do you want to start with the first one, newsletter pop-up?
Great.
Perfect. So it looks like Daniel's been participating in the Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you for participating. Hopefully you've been learning skills. Let us know how it's been. Yeah, this is day 3 for his participation, where he worked on a newsletter subscription pop-up.
Looks like we have a gaming blog. You did a great job. I think even just the attention to detail in the way you're laying out your project is awesome. So having some photos and some continuing
Definitely gonna appreciate it.
those features in the back is great.
Yeah, what do you think of the header here? Like the first thing you see when you open this up, it's a full screen. You get some description as to why he worked on this project. I think that's really nice to have context, because sometimes these projects can start and I don't know exactly what I'm looking at or why, so you did a really good job of labeling it and giving us a nice intro to it.
Yeah, I think labeling it also as a daily creative challenge is nice too, because I think there's sometimes when you open up someone's project and you don't know what did they work on versus what did some of their coworkers work on, so you know this is something that you did probably likely by yourself. Maybe you asked for some feedback, but you did it as a creative side project, which is great to see that people like to and do frequently projects on their own initiative, which is awesome.
Yeah, and Cyberpunk is a rad game based on the trailer, so someone like me can connect with that and know that you're a really cool person for liking cool things. So I think it's really great to show your personality in these projects, especially when you're working on stuff for fun.
I think I'm missing on the, I see this thank you screen, so it would appear to me that somebody had entered their email to subscribe.
Yeah.
But I don't see where they entered it up above, or where would they actually input their email. So maybe that's that transition, or that's something you could show. And if this is an XD, a really easy way to do that would be the video that we just showed, doing a little animation, playing that video, and showing how somebody would actually interact with the design that you did would be awesome.
Yeah, I see up top there's a button for newsletter, so maybe that's how you do it. But yeah, it might be nice to see the design a little bit bigger, even though you use this header in a really successful way. You might want to have at the end maybe an easier way to see just the design against a white background of the screens.
And it might be too that I don't know if the header was intended to be a video or maybe something in action, but maybe a little text up there. It's kind of a fun opportunity on this project. You got to do both a landing page and you got to do the newsletter subscription. So
yeah,
there could be some text or something that explains what that particular blog is about or what that header information is.
Great.
But they had great imagery to work with, so you picked a really good game.
Yeah, the colors are also really great, I think. Good job there. All right, what's another one that we can take a peek at? We got a couple different Adobe challenges. Maybe we pick something else.
You pick this one.
I'm gonna pick Sakura Sushi redesign. This looks really cool. Nice, so it's a redesign of a former workplace of mine. I really like the header image. It's really neat. I think the styling of the text, though, for the description could have been a little bit more designed instead of just being a text label. Since you're a designer, you want to show off your skills, and so the same way you did the header for the Adobe project could be applied here. But we are looking at an older project, too, so it seems like you've definitely improved in your showcase ability, so that's good to see, too.
I like the stacking of the text. I think that feels like sushi in the way that you like stack the sushi, so it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like we have some menus and stuff, so this is really cool. It looks like a restaurant website.
Looks like maybe several things. Is that a business card or is that on the website
Oh yeah,
itself?
that is a business card too. So we got a business card, we got menus, we got a website.
Nice.
You did a lot of work here.
It's a good use of photos next to the menu. I think I always need that. I'm not a sushi enough expert that I know exactly what the various roles are, so I appreciate the photos next to things.
Oh, you have to have more sushi.
I really do. I'm also not very adventurous with my sushi.
Oh, sushi's so good. Eel is my favorite. What about everyone else's?
Delicious.
So good. But yeah, this is a nice layout. Everything's really readable. The point of this is really to be able to order what you want, and I think you did a good job with picking a really legible typeface. It's a little bit harder to see the smaller designs, but I can see by the large designs that it's very readable and very clear as to what the prices are.
I think you did a good job of keeping the branding consistent from all of the print material to now the sign to the website.
This is really cool. I love the sign. It's so much fun to design signs.
Yeah,
I'm currently designing a coffee shop sign and it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I like the business cards being laid out with a white background too, along with the menu. This really helps me see what you built.
I'm curious what the flower was intended, like what was the flower in correlation to the sushi place?
So I know Sakura is actually the name of the flower being shown here. Yeah. And so in Japanese culture, sakuras are pretty prevalent. It's cherry blossom. So I totally get the connection.
My own ignorance, forgive me.
It's only because I minored in Japanese language and culture. This is really great. I love the imagery you put together to show off all of the designs.
Is a flower typically pink?
It is, yeah, pink or white are the two colors for cherry blossoms.
And I get it.
Yep, I'm helping out. Really great. I think we have time for one more of Daniel's, so your turn, Megan. What would you like to see?
Scroll down. There was one that what's the editorial magazine 100? I like the type already just from the small snippet we're seeing here.
Whoa, very cool imagery right away.
Yeah, this is nice. Editorial.
It looks like we have some informational diagrams, infographics, which is really neat to see, with some Star Trek characters. Do we have Spock in here?
And Apple.
Tim Cook.
Yep.
Nice. I guess everyone here is someone I should recognize, but those are the two that I recognize. Nice. Cool. And so we have, it looks like a magazine article. This is really cool.
I like whatever that type the 100 is in. That's nice. Good rounded edges.
We talked about Bethany Heck yesterday. She has some really amazing type examples. If you like doing this kind of work, Daniel, you should go check out her work.
And she just started a review blog of different typefaces, I believe.
She does a really thorough job.
I would imagine. She's very expert.
I see some Ghost in the Shell imagery in this. This is cool. So it looks like you did a practice layout with some anime imagery with some really cool typography and text. I like this project.
Nice.
It's cool to see print examples too, because a lot of what you see nowadays is all digital. So this is a really cool application.
Yeah, I think I would be curious to hear from you the thoughts on some of these, like the editorial text having the different weights in different spots. It makes me read it editorial, or you know, then I eventually get it, or is it ed and editorial? And so curious the thought, or if that was more of a visual style and playing with some styles, or if that was an intentional to read that way.
Nice. I think we have time for one more. I'm going to pick a newer one. Let's do Rick Future website redesign. Whoa, nice. Craziness. I like this imagery. I like the photo. I wonder where you got that from. Looks like you redesigned a website. I love this intro with you giving context again as to what you worked on, what the difference was between the old and the new.
Yeah, I love always seeing the old and new and seeing where that gives at least me an idea of where you took some creative liberties, where did you improve UX. It's great context.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff on this website. You definitely kept in line with, I think, their branding and theme. Mm-hmm. The logo is pretty crazy, Rick Future.
Little bios, those are nice. Keeping probably requested ads on the side, which can always sometimes be added difficulties as a designer.
So we have a new website layout. This was the About page, and now we have the Product page. So this kind of reminds me of like a IGN or a Steam layout. This is pretty cool. It must be like giving you an overview of the game, the story, who worked on it. It has a link to a trailer, to download a soundtrack. Very cool.
Nice.
So there's a lot of content here. This is really cool. And you credit all the other people who you worked with, which is really great to see. It's cool to see that you collaborated with so many people. I think this is a really nice project to show, and I think it's a good way of showing it. Is there anything maybe you changed in the way that it's showcased to better let people know how he worked on the design?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I like the background visuals of things, I think I actually, clicking into this, thought this, if initially, unless I read website redesign and read all of that content, thought it was the website itself. So I could go back and forth. I think on the first project, I really loved the context, something about that. And maybe it was the XD logo on the side and Daily Challenge being huge versus Rick Future here. It was more obvious to me that portion of it wasn't the project and those small windows were the features. But in general,
yeah, I think this is really successful. Good job on doing a whole website redesign. That's so much work. Mm-hmm. It's looking really fantastic. And I know that you said you were learning to code, so I'm curious to know if you coded some of this stuff too.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch, see.
Yeah, but this is really great. Thank you for sharing your portfolio. Good job with that.
Kudos.
Thank you, Daniel. Next up, we have Carlos Campos. Thank you for submitting your portfolio. Nice. We got a bunch of stuff here. What do we want to start with? Maybe
let's pick that first one. I love the yellow already.
Yeah. So I believe this is a different language. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Kountable da Soledad. I feel like that has something to do with sun. Soledad maybe is sun in some way, but I don't know. I don't know the language, so let me know what it means. I like the intro. I see a cow and a wood background, so I'm not sure what it's going to be.
Maybe branding?
This looks like branding because we can see the typefaces, the colors, a cow.
Nice. The colors are, I feel like the colors are good. They're nice and warm.
This is pretty. Yeah, it looks like it's promoting something to do with animals. Maybe genetics was one of the words I read, but I'm not sure what that means.
I always love the matte products as supporting features, so like this matte keyboard.
Yeah, apparently
keeps the focus on your, oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's Brazilian Portuguese. But yeah, it does keep the focus on the design. I think it's a really clean layout to have like this background pattern with the color and really showcase the design in situ in the product.
Yep.
Nice. I like the layout of the website. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. I can see there's a gradient in the underline in the navigation, so that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it looks like there's 3 lines under the navigation, so I'm curious if those are indications of something. Maybe the first 3, second 3, and third 3 links mean something different that we can't
that we don't
engage with.
We don't know. It'd be cool to see the website live too, but this is a really good design.
This is great. The line work is great.
Nice. We have some bios on some cows.
Amazing.
This is cool. I like the layout a lot. I think it's really clean, really legible. The footer's nice. The branding's nice.
It's a great job.
Yeah. This is really cool. I like the fact that you highlighted the branding at the beginning too. It's probably a description about how you came to this brand. You showcase the logo front and center at the beginning with a very solid background color to make it pop. And then going through these different styles in a layout and design in itself is really, really successful.
I like to, you had some like more, you had sans serif fonts, but then you had some fun character fonts in a way, so that's nice too.
It's nice to pair really legible, practical fonts with something a bit more stylistic like that. All right, let's go to the next one, Absolev. Great, so we jump right into designs here. It might be nice to know a little bit more about what this project is, but it's cool to see that it is an app right away because you have it in the actual product.
In the same vein as what we were talking about before with like UX, knowing somebody's process, if this was an app you started from the ground up, or if it was something that you started with a previously existing design, and what your process was in getting to what you created would be great as well. So were you doing some research to get to these conclusions, or were you just doing a UI refresh, and how did you approach that would be a great thing to see as well.
Yeah, but I like the home screen with this imagery. I can tell right away it's like a workout application, even without understanding the language. The visuals are really clear. And we can see that we can log in, or I assume this means sign up. And the sign up screen looks good. I like that we have the ability to sign in via Facebook. I think there might be a background image applied to this login screen, which is a little bit hard to see.
Someone running.
Let's see.
I like the blue buttons are nice. They call attention to themselves, and you know exactly what action needs to be taken, which is good.
Yeah. I think things could probably be a little bit bigger overall with this login screen because it's starting to get a little bit small, but I do know that I'm looking at an image of it, so it would be bigger if I actually had the phone in my hand. But it could probably bump up in size a little bit.
Yeah, they say 40 to 48 pixels on average is pretty good for the normal thumb.
Nice. Next up we have some sections in here. So it looks like it times your runs possibly. I do like those blue colors. It really makes it pop and lets you know what you want to focus on.
Could click into it. There we go. And the purple's nice too.
Yeah, the color combinations are really great. Looks like we have sections here. I like the section icons. It kind of helps me understand what the sections mean, even without understanding the language again, so it's really clear. I like this header image. It looks like it's probably an ad of some sort, or it links to a main feature of the application, which is handy. The calendar is nice, but the image behind it makes it a little bit hard to see. What do you think of the image in the background, Megan?
I mean, imagery is always nice to set a tone, but you have to make sure it's used in a way that doesn't take away from the function of what you're creating. I would say too, I mean, you don't have any, if that is an ad, you don't have any control over that, but if it is not an ad and it's something that's a part of a feature of the visuals, making sure that your visuals are consistent across all pages too. I think we use like halftone imagery, and then here we have full tone imagery, and then over here we're having graphics on top of some of that imagery, and all can work well together, but I think just making sure they all speak the same language.
Yeah, great feedback. What do you think of the bottom bar?
Yeah, so the bottom bar, it looks like maybe we have some sort of a calendar, and then we have settings, but we also have the navigation up, the menu up at the top left, and so I'm curious what those, it's not clear to me what exactly those lead to, so it looks like the calendar might lead to the screen on the right. But if there's maybe an easier way that, if those are things that we're needing to get to so frequently that we put them in bottom navigation, or things like settings, should we put those up under the menu navigation at the top left?
Yeah, I think that's awesome to have those quick links for things that are important in the application. And it looks like we have some cards here representing
maybe notifications. Notifications
that are related to a date for some reason. So that's cool to see that format and layout, but I'm not, it looks like notifications is what it is. Yeah, I'm not sure what they would be, but it's
But if
cool.
you click into one, you get to this. So maybe it's an article of some sort.
Yeah,
I'm
so it
not
looks
sure.
like when you click it in notification, it expands full screen and you get a lot of text. Again, I think the text gets a little bit small here, but I love the card layout. It's really easy to know. You click into those cards and you can scroll them, so it's a good and great mobile pattern.
And maybe a menu of some sort, or your profile, your email, password, birth date,
Lots
location.
of information.
Yeah,
I like the profile picture. I almost wonder why we can't have it be within this whole gray area. It might make it a little bit more fun since you do that with other images. Yeah, it might be good to expand that.
we lose some space there. The gray.
Cool. Nice, we got a clean menu. Now you can use the overlay feature and time transitions and
Yeah,
things like that in
nice.
XD. I like the logo too with this cover screen.
And the notifications are nice too. They're good and simple on your locked screen.
Yep, it looks like the menu does the same interaction as what Megan was designing earlier, where it pushes in from the left-hand side.
You can, I think there's probably, I don't actually know this for a fact, but in the sticker menu, I'd imagine in XD even, they may have what these notification screens look like. So I think you did a great job, a phenomenal job of interpreting that, but it may be a good indicator to some people looking at your portfolio that you know how to follow the like in communicating with a developer, they may say we actually have to stick to certain text sizes or the structure of how something's laid out. So maybe just observing what are those rules and regulations from the makers of some of these operating systems and being able to stick to some of those.
Yep, knowing standards is always a really great thing to know as a designer. All right, I think we have time for one more, so let's do the Pirates of the Caribbean one.
Arr.
Arr. So we jump right into the design. Again, I think it's always nice to give a little bit of context, but this is a really strong visual, which is why I clicked on it. It looks like it's a layout maybe for a television company. Oh, here we go. So the internet telecom company provides TV services via cable and then started providing internet service also via cable. So it looks like you did a design for them, which is really cool. It would be good to see a couple more screens if you did do the whole website to see what else you worked on, but I like the color blue. It's very cognizant of cable. Cable is usually associated with that blue color. It looks like the logo has some blue in it. It might have been nice to incorporate the logo into the design of the website a little bit more, maybe changing the logo or picking colors that maybe are more in tune with what's in the logo.
Yep, I was going to say the same thing, so that's great. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes companies say we want a new look, but we don't want to change our logo, and that's a tough one to get around.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to convince people to change their name and brand sometimes.
Yeah.
But this is really great. And did you have another comment for this one?
The search button is a little, is the search on the right, or with my clicking on that, is something popping out? It feels really big compared to all of the text at the top there. So maybe keeping that in line with what you've already got working.
Yep, so keeping things consistent in size, I think that makes a lot of sense. Great. Well, thank you, Carlos, for contributing and submitting your portfolio today. Great job with these. Hopefully you got some good feedback from us. And thank you all for joining. I've seen some great comments and support from the rest of the community here. Hi, Florent. Thanks for joining at the end here, and Miriam. No problem on being late. You can always go back and check out the previous streams, including today's. This has been day 3, and it's been a lot of fun working with Megan. Let's talk about Megan a little bit more, about where you can reach her after these streams, and talk about what she did these 3 streams, in case you want to go back and maybe watch day 1, day 2, or today's stream. So Megan, how can we find you online? Where can we talk to you and ask you questions?
Yeah, I'd say I need to update my site anyway, so reach out to me on Behance, and then I'll be on it more often, and I'll get new projects up and working. And LinkedIn is also a great spot. I'm on there often, so either of those spots would be great. And I love, I think one of the best, that's why I'm here. I think one of the best things about design is the community that's around it, and that we can really work together and teach each other things. It's the way that I've learned the most in my career. And so I'm 100% always on board for giving advice, receiving advice, and working on projects together. So
Yeah, and thank you, Voodoo Val. Voodoo Val has provided all of Megan's links, so you can go follow her and check her out. And Megan, what have we accomplished in these 3 days? What have we worked on with you?
Yeah, so we've talked about Kountable. We've talked about inclusivity in the context of design at Kountable, and part of that for us has been looking at designing a store experience as a part of the Kountable platform, where our entrepreneurs can come on and search for goods and go through a shopping experience to create an invoice.
Great, so we've made a lot of screens. I've had a lot of fun watching Megan use XD. As I said, she's kind of still a new user to XD, so it's been really impressive to see her work so efficiently and quickly in the program. Again, XD is free to download, and you should definitely participate in our Slack community. Hopefully we can convince Megan to join the Slack community so you can Slack around there. And also the XD Daily Creative Challenge, which is still going on. You still have an opportunity to participate at this point in time. So it'll end in 2 days. You want to get in your designs and follow these instructions. So you get to learn about XD, you get to participate in these challenges, get some templates. It's a lot of fun and a great way to jump right into XD. So thank you, Megan. This has been a fantastic week. I've had a lot of fun. Hopefully you have too.
Absolutely. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for watching. You guys really means a lot.
Thank you, community. You're the ones who help us put this together and make us want to do this. So thanks for being here. Thank you, Megan, and have a good one. Bye.
See ya.